Yo, what's up guys, it's ApTreX here, and this year has to be the worst year ever in terms of mobile emulation history because unfortunately the development of Cassia is over. Well, I wanted to make this video earlier, but if you are living under a rock and you don't know what's going on, then as you might know, Cassia was supposed to be a Windows emulator from the developers of Skyline Nintendo Switch emulator, and they really had lot of high hopes from people like me or people like you guys from the emulation community who were eagerly waiting for this amazing Windows emulator for Android, and the developers had promised that it was capable of running Steam and also other game platforms like Rockstar Games Launcher, etc. So we were expecting lot of things, but unfortunately, as you will be able to see on June 13th, the main developer has announced that they have decided to cease development on Cassia. Now there are few reasons behind this, the developer has mentioned all of it, but I'd like to summarize everything for you guys. Basically, the developers have a lot to do, and unfortunately they can't continue the development of Cassia emulator because they have to go to universities and they also have full-time jobs. That's the main reason why they can't continue this project. Well, I'll be also talking about the Strato emulator because as you guys know, once Skyline emulator stopped, the Strato Nintendo Switch emulator was formed to continue the Skyline project, and after the end of Cassia emulator, I think something else is about to be cancelled too. Anyways, let's quickly take a look at the announcement from the main developer of Cassia. I have taken more commitments. Okay, I have personally elected to go to university, which consumes lot of time. That's why working on Cassia is not feasible for them. We are going to let the server continue to exist. There is one good news with the end of Cassia emulator. Well, it's not really good, but they have decided to make the Cassia projects all source code open source on their official GitHub page, which means that people can use their codes to compile the Cassia emulator for Android devices, but obviously it's not completed. That's why it won't work properly. I don't think the development is going to be continued. I don't think other developers will be interested to pick up the leftover work. As you know, Suyu emulator, the continuation of Yuzu emulator, it took them lot of time just to figure out the code of Yuzu emulator. So I think that same case would apply here with this Windows emulator for Android, even though it's Wine based. So unfortunately, Cassia emulator is completely over. Just to reiterate, we are going to continue personally contributing to the underlying projects that make something like Cassia possible, just not an app that puts it all together. So they are obviously not going to create the Cassia emulator for Android devices. They are just going to contribute with some features or some bug fixes that might occur if someone manages to take up this project. So what's the future of Windows emulation? Obviously we have a lot of great Windows emulators like WinLater, Mobox, and even some underdog Windows emulators like DarkOS and Horizon emulator. But the WinLater, a major Windows emulator for Android, just received version 7.0 update few days ago, so it's not really that bad, but unfortunately it's just disappointing because we were expecting a lot from the developers of Skyline. Though they are also humans, obviously they have work to do, they have life to live. And let's talk about the Strato emulator now. As you guys know, the developers of Strato emulator had made an announcement saying that the main developer Lynx was going to leave the Strato emulator project. This was back in March 10, 2024, and afterwards we haven't even received a single announcement from the Strato emulator development team. Now there are other developers like ASV, etc. I don't want to rush anything. I'm just telling you guys the summary. As you guys can see, the ASV has continued his work on optimizing GPU. This was back in February 2024, and Lynx, the main developer, had gotten most of the JIT done, and they were also announcing that Strato is set to release in first half of 2024. Well, this is June 2024, it's first half of 2024, and unfortunately there are no updates regarding Strato emulator, which means that there are two possible outcomes. Now as you guys know, Yuzu emulator was taken down recently. That's the main reason why all the development of this emulator might be delayed, because I don't really want to make this public, but obviously Skyline emulator had the help of Yuzu emulator team when it was still active, and Skyline emulator does have components like shader compiler, etc. from Yuzu, and Strato emulator is continuation of Skyline. That's why it will also have those components. But if they want to make a brand new Nintendo Switch emulator, then obviously they will have to remove all the dependencies from Yuzu emulator side, and that is the hardest part because Yuzu shader compiler was pretty amazing. The FPS which we got in Skyline emulator was unlike any other Nintendo Switch emulator. We still don't get the same amount of FPS in Suyu, Sudachi, or any other Nintendo Switch emulators. That's why Skyline is still the best, but unfortunately the development was stopped and Strato Emulator's release is not seeming plausible in the next few weeks. I don't think it will be released by the end of June. It might be delayed or it might be cancelled too, just like the Cassia emulator. It's just lot of work, but I think the developer is dedicated. Even after the main developer of Strato Emulator quit, they didn't decide to stop the project. Let's quickly summarize this announcement made by the main developer as well. It is with mixed emotions that I announced my departure from Strato. I'll be wrapping up 32-bit JIT support in private and the resulting work will be handed over to Strato team. I'll be hanging out on the sidelines eager to see what's next for Strato. Well, that was the announcement made in March, and I have seen a lot of people who are actually wondering when will the Strato emulator release. Well, not anytime soon, that's for sure. If it's not cancelled, then that's really good. I think we can wait for a stable Nintendo Switch emulator for Android, as it is our last hope. Anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on all notification as I keep you guys up to date with the latest emulation news, and comment down below what you guys think about this current scenario. Is it good or is it bad? Obviously it's bad, but let me know your thoughts. Anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.